We on? We on? Mic check, mic check, mic check. Yeah, we just gotta go with it. We on? Cool. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 4th episode of Trippin with Theobold. We do this every Thursday. You got that Trippin with Theobold on Thursday. But now, welcome to the 4th episode of this installment, or the fourth installment of Trippin with Theobold. I'm your host, Andre Theobold. I go by AT. I also go by Dre Theo. So, anywho, as y'all know, this show is called Trippin with Theobold because we be tripping in thought and in speech. You know, for those of y'all that don't know, I grew up with a speech impediment. I got over my shit. I still got my shit. It's not anywhere near as bad as it used to be. But when I trip in speech, I'm gonna just be like, hey, I got to figure out something to do for that. I don't know what I'm going to do to call it out. You know what I'm saying? So every time I hesitate or every time I bloop, 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 you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm going to do something to kind of point that out. You know what I mean? What else? Because we don't do edits over here, man. We just point, shoot, post. That's all we do. We point, shoot, and we post. I ain't got time for all this re-editing and shit. You know what I mean? Cause in the past, I used to get to 30 minutes of doing any kind of a talking video. I would get to 30 minutes, and then I would get caught up in my speech, and then I'd be like, damn, I gotta start over again. Shit. All right, then you waste 30 minutes of that shit. So I ain't got time for that. So whatever is gonna happen is gonna motherfucking happen. I ain't. So anyway, let's go on and get on with the first portion of the show, which is the say what portion of the show. So anyways, I wanted to kind of talk about what goes on in my mind when it comes to stammering, stuttering, or having a speech. And I kind of did it right there. I kind of want to go over what goes on in my mind when it comes to stammering, stuttering, or having a speech impediment, right? And it's my nose itch. But what goes on in my mind, man, is there's this constant fear of messing up, It's weird. It's a how should I put it? It's weird. So I kind of did it right there. It's like a cyclic function, right? Or a cyclic action, right? It's I'm so nervous and so scared of fucking up that I scare myself into messing up. You know what I mean? It's just this constant fear of, oh man, what am I really sounding like? Because like I said before in previous episodes, is I wasn't even aware I was doing this shit, which was scary, Just imagine in your mind you're talking fine, but your mouth ain't doing what you think your mind is doing, It's like my mouth had a mind of its own, and when I was made aware of that, nigga, that shit was scary because it's I'm listening to everything that I say, and then it's man, am I doing it? Am I doing it? Am I doing it? Am I messing up? There's sometimes when you really know you're doing it, but sometimes it's you don't realize you're even doing it, Not now, but back when I was younger, it was I had no clue I was even messing up in speech like that, But what else goes on in my mind, right? Because I can't really say what goes on in the mind of all people that have speech impediments or that stutter or whatever. Excuse me. I really can't speak on that. All I can do is speak from things from my perspective, And it's another thing that kind of goes on is I'm always looking ahead to what I'm saying, right? There's times when I'll say what I'm gonna say in my head multiple. So like right now, I'm not doing that. Right now, it's like I'm just kind of going off the cuff, and hopefully this improves or whatever is lacking. But I'm always like ahead of like the words I'm gonna say. Like I'll be thinking about, like I'll say like what I want to say in my head the whole time, a few times, and after I say it a few times, I'll just make sure that I can say all those words, and then when I go and speak, I'll talk and speak those words, and then I don't know, I just have like more man, why is my nose itching, man? Shit. It's always something. Whenever I start filming, like, you know what I'm saying? Like every time I start filming, it's always a helicopter that flies outside. My nose starts itching. Right? You know what I'm saying? My face gets shiny. I gotta do something about this light, man. Cause I'm kind of shiny right now. Like I look like, yeah, I got my little Cabbage Patch. I can't even say this shit. I got my Cabbage Patch face, Cabbage Patch Kid face, man. Like y'all remember the black Cabbage Patch, and he had like that matte shine to it. I kind of got that matted shine myself. But anyways, let me go and get back and stay on topic. But yeah, like I'm always, or like a lot of times I'm always ahead of what I'm gonna say, and I'll try to like process the whole conversation in my head, which is like not possible because in a conversation, you don't know what the person you talking to is gonna be saying. You know what I mean? So it's like I'll rehearse what I'm gonna say before I go to the person. And then when the conversation starts, now I'm like, oh shit. Now I got to change up what I was going to say because, the conversation is changing. The flow is changing. And the words, now it's like I'm more worried about certain words that I can and can't say, But that was like a while back. Now it's like different. Like I don't have it like as bad. But I mean, there are times when I do have bad days, But yeah, the one thing too that was also funny is, and this is something I just like kind of like realized about myself. But when I was younger, like there was like the words that I couldn't say were like more of a constant. Like I really struggled with my vowels. Like the ah sound, e, o, u. Like I really struggled with like those. I struggled with those sounds and all the derivative or all the variant sounds of the vowels. Like my shit just, my vocal folds wouldn't like close or whatever, and it was weird. I could say it in my head. Like I knew how to make the sound. I knew like what sounds I wanted to make, but yeah, they just I always struggled with those. So I used to hate my vowels, But at least I knew like what words, at least back then, the words I had trouble with were like those words, like I knew what those were concrete words that I knew I would struggle with. So I would just stay away from those words. But now as I got older, or with me getting older, what happens now is like the words that be fucking with me be changing, So it's like my brain is like playing a trick on me, It's like my brain is like, oh, okay, you think you overcame this shit? Okay, well, you gonna struggle with your S's today, and then some days it might be my T's. Like it's weird. Like, when I say struggle, I don't mean like I'm gonna sit there for an hour trying to pronounce the sound. It's more of just the confidence I have in the word, I'm like, oh fuck, I get like anxiety sometimes, or I used to get anxiety when like, there's certain words or certain things I can't say, so. And another thing too I realized about myself when it comes to this shit is like when I talk to myself, I'm fine. Like when I'm on stage doing jokes, for the most part, I'm fine. Like it's only when I'm talking to people is when my shit gets fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if there was a study that was done. I wonder if there's been a study where they actually had someone that stuttered or had a speech impediment. I wonder if they had them ever in a situation where they told them just to talk into it like a tape recorder and then talk to a person, because maybe my assumption is, or my conjecture is, there's different classes of people with speech impediments, right? There's some people that there's no matter what, if you put them on a tape recorder or if you put them, talking with a person, like they shit gonna mess up, or There's some people that are probably the opposite of me. Like they can talk fine, to people, but when they have to talk to themselves or talking to a tape recorder, I said tape recorder, or when they talk by themselves, you know what I'm saying, then everything is fine, you know? So I'm just curious about that. I gotta start doing some research, man. I wanna see what the medical field has discovered about this, to see how accurate they are. My throat getting a little dry. I think I realized about talking for an hour is, your throat and your voice gets tired. Like I didn't realize that, So it's like the more you train and do this shit, the more like kind of like how your voice is and like what you can like get away with, But I got this book right here, man. My mom. So y'all don't think I'm bullshitting because maybe some of y'all are like, oh well, your speech isn't that bad, and I think you're just playing it up, and I don't know. Let me show y'all this shit. Excuse me. So when I was at home helping my mom clean out the shed, I found the books. I kind of did it there. I found this book. All right, If Your Child Stutters. I was like, man, let me open this shit up. So I started reading it, and this little pamphlet book came out. When did it come out? It came out, or it was published in the late 70s. It says first printing 1977, third printing 1981. Right, so, but I was reading through some of it, and man, they kind of had like a lot of shit like that I didn't even think about, like they were talking about how like you really can't classify where a stutter comes from, or like how a child develops it, like they were saying it could be a combination of things, or it could be one thing, but to assume that it was just like a traumatic event that made them do it. There's been cases where people had a traumatic event. They started like stuttering for a short amount of time, but it went away. They were saying that it could be hereditary, but it's not. There's no proof that it's absolutely hereditary, And then what else? I was like, man, they actually went through and looked at all those, and they had like broken down, like they didn't name all of the different like stuttering types, but it's like they were talking about like like the schwa sound and all these different. I was like, man, I'm learning. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing some independent research on this shit, because the one thing that no one's really bringing up, and this may be just my flavor of speech impediment or whatever, but my conjecture is that this shit got more to do with hearing than anything. It's one of those tricky things where people are going after the motor mechanics of the mouth and the breathing and the vocal folds and the coordination of all that, but really I think it has to do with your hearing, right? Because like when I hear shit different, like I talk different, like for example, like when I think I may have said this before in my previous videos, but when I have my Bose headphones on, like my Bose over the ear headphones, I can't talk worth shit. But it's weird because if I'm on the phone with those and I'm wearing my Bose headphones, man, I'll be struggling. Like, man, I'll be like, man, let me take these shits out, man. I'm struggling with these headphones on. But, when I cut but when I'm talking to myself in my headset, I can talk fine, which is weird. So maybe it's not the headphone. Maybe it's, it could be the frequency or the sound, or the noise pitch, or the frequency that's coming out of my headset when I have the noise canceling on, right? Maybe, or maybe there's a tone or a pitch that is, coming through when I'm actually making a phone call with somebody. See, I got to study that thing, man, because when I'm on the phone, that's amazing. Like, I don't like using the word amazing because I sound like that's Jesse Lee Peterson word, Jesse Lee Peterson fucked that word up, man. Like, he says amazing, so he'd be like, amazing. Like, I can't, I gotta, so I got to lose the word amazing out of my vocabulary. But anyways, like when I put my Bose headphones on and I put the noise canceling on, like, and when I talk to myself, I'm fine. And when I say talk to myself, I mean talking to like my voice recording app, 'cause I used to do that a lot, and I was fine. Like I didn't have one slip up or nothing. But the moment I get a phone call and I start talking, man, I'm up here like, struggling. Like I'm struggling to like form words. I'm struggling to, so maybe it's anxiety induced from talking to people, or maybe it's the fear of being interrupted. Maybe it's a frequency or a pitch that is coming through during a phone call that's messing me up. I don't know, but when I have my earbuds in and I'm talking on the phone, I'm fine. It's weird. Like with the earbuds in, I can talk fine to myself and in a phone conversation. But matter of fact, I got to plug up my already plugged in. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's that. So like I said, man, I think my flavor of speech impediment has to do with like hearing. Like I don't like when I can hear my voice internally, because when I put the earbuds in, I can like feel my voice on the inside, and I can like really focus in on what I'm saying. But when my shit is like in the vacuum and I really can't not hear, but when I just get distracted and there's just too many sounds, like that like throws me off. You know what I mean? So don't none of you motherfuckers try to be fucking with me. Like when you see me in public, don't try to like, come out with a pot in a pan and making all this fucking noise trying to disrupt me. I don't know. Maybe you can, but you might just end up looking crazy. But I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, I think that's all I really wanted to hit on with the say why portion of the show. So now we're gonna get into the next portion, which is the daily fantasy sports, aka DFS portion of the show. So my woe of the week. My woe of the week for this, let me see, was it this week? Let me just double check and make sure, man. Well, either way, man, this person really messed me up in DraftKings, man. This person really did a doozy on me. Up here they got me up here just giving away money, man. Shit. Was it last night? Let me see. Let me just double check to make sure. No, that wasn't it. Yeah, this is right here. Let me see the 20. Yeah, so this is really from last week, but my woe of the week, man, from last week, because let me give you last week's woe of the week, and I'll give you a woe of the week from this week. But my woe of the week last week, man, was Jimmy Butler, man. Man, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm almost gonna stop. I'm almost gonna just start ignoring the little Q and the Q and the O for each player, because DraftKings, if you don't know, they have like a red O or like a red box with an O in it. That means that player's out. Or they'll have an amber box with a Q in it, which means they're questionable. So Jimmy Butler's, his status for last week's game, his status was clear. There was no health status indication on Jimmy Butler. So I did my research, I did my analytics. You know what I'm saying? I processed the data, and I'm thinking, okay, cool. I'm about to walk away with at least $5 tonight. I'm looking at the game, like I basically pulled up in the app. I looked at third quarter and I saw 0 points. I'm like, what the fuck? 0 points. And then shit said out. And then when I read the shit, it was like, oh, he just had a knee, like his knee was sore or whatever. So moving forward, I'm just gonna read I'm just gonna read the highlights for each player, because that out questionable shit, that shit is like real fluky, man. So I think DraftKings is trying to get motherfuckers, man. So I think what they trying to say is you gotta read. let's see who else, man, from this past week messed me up. Shit, I mean, I'm doing bad this week, man. I'm not even getting past the numbers. So my woe of the week for this week, man, is Bam out of Bayou, man. My man put up 17 and a half points. 17 and a half points. Come on, Bam. So yeah, 2.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 11 points. So Bam scoring 17, that's like an anomaly almost. You know what I mean? But anyway, it's like my throat, man. My voice getting tired already. And I just woke up. But like I said before earlier, I'm kind of staying away from the traditional fantasy sports because I'm staying away from traditional fantasy basketball because like I said before, it's like there's a lot of research that goes into it. Like you have to, like with me, I look at all the players, I look at all the price breakdowns, I look at I look at everything. And by the time you go through and do all that, that's a lot of work, man. So for right now, what I'm doing is I'm messing with these tiers, right? Like, because my theory is if you can't pick the right tier players, if you can't pick the right tier guys, then you don't need to be messing with the bums. You know what I mean? And when I say tiers, basically what DraftKings does is, like, they basically have a way to get into the game quicker. So what they do is they have, all these tiers, right? It's tiers 1 through 6. And tier 1 might have like anywhere from 3 to 4 players that you can pick from. And then when you get down to tier 6, you have anywhere from, it's like 8 players you can pick from. And they're like the more obvious or the more popular players, right? So basically like you're narrowing down your sample size of players to pick from. And, but you have to be able to pick the right one still, So if you can't pick those dudes right, then it don't matter what your bums do. So that's why I'm trying to master this. And once I master that, then I can go on and then go down and start looking at the bums. Or when I say bum, I don't mean that they sorry. I mean bums in terms of like their fantasy point production, because I'm not in the NBA. You know what I mean? So by my definition, I'm a bum because I'm not putting up no fantasy points. You know what I mean? But when I say that, I don't mean that like in a skill level sense. I mean that in, the fantasy point production sense. But let's look at my prediction for the week, man, and see who I think is gonna do what. So I'm doing tiers, right? I'm fucking with these tiers, right? So I put up $3. And the total pot is $7,500. And then first place prize gets a cool $750. All right, so I'll go with that. I can rock with $750. So let's look at some of these games though. We got Toronto at Boston. We got the Clippers at Washington. We got Detroit at New York. Denver at Indy. Milwaukee at Memphis. Miami at New Orleans. OKC at San Antonio. Sacramento at Portland. And Golden State at Phoenix. I know how I'm going to play already. So let me just take a look at one player in particular, right? Because it's weird, right? Like, I used to fall for that revenge bullshit. Like I used to always like fall for that revenge shit where, like, for example, since Kelly Oubre, so Kelly Oubre was drafted by the Wizards my Wizards, and then he went to the Suns, and after the Suns, he then went to Golden State. So since Golden State's playing Phoenix, you might think, okay, maybe Oubre might have a little bit of beef with, Phoenix, but it doesn't really work that way, man. I found that out. But the one person that you got to play is whenever the Blazers go to Golden State, you got to play Dame. I don't know what it is. Well, that's Dame's hometown, I think, right? So, but whenever Portland goes to Golden State, Dame He just says, everyone, I'm playing like James Harden. I'm doing ISO ball. I'm getting these points. And he just goes off on Golden State every time they play. So it's something personal there with that. But anyways, let me go and see what I'm gonna pick, man. I think. Let me see right quick. Who am I gonna go with? 30, 12, 30, 12. You know, I'm gonna go on a limb. Right? Yeah, I kind of looked at this already. So my Theobold prediction is Jonas Valanciunas is going to get 50 points. 50 fantasy points, that is. Jonas Valanciunas, a.k.a. Travis Kelce. You know what? Let me go and vent for a second, man. 'Cause I got to get this off my chest, man. So, one of the downfalls or things I hate about social media is that when you come up with something and like nobody knows you, even if it's genius, and even if you hashtag it up, everyone will just be like, they'll just ignore it, right? But then someone else will come along with like 1 million followers or whatever, or it'll be a network or like a TV network, and then they'll say the same thing that you say, and everyone's like, oh my God, that is so hilarious. Oh my God. Oh. I'm like, nigga, I said that shit months ago, years ago. So on my Instagram, you know, and you can follow me, you know, on Instagram, at AT is where it's at. But if you scroll all the way down, like I was like the first one to say that Jonas Valanciunas is Travis Kelce's doppelganger. Like those two look exactly alike. I was the first one to say that shit. As a matter of fact, I even showed my cousin when I was at his house, or at their house. I showed my cousin when I was at her house. You know, I got the wrong cousin mixed up. But when I showed her and like her husband, they were like, yo, that is hilarious. Oh my God. And they were just like, I was like, yeah. So I saw that shit years ago, and it got like 5 likes or some shit. And then I think NFL Network did the joint, and then everyone just kind of like lost their mind. So I don't know though. Yeah, that Valanciunas profile pic just kind of like made some other shit like, you know, just resurface or whatever. But anyways, that's that. Let me go and get off my high horse. You know what I mean? That's just the game, right? That's how social media works, you know. If you are not known, nobody cares. But if you are known, you could say the dumbest shit and people will blow that up. But that's just life, you know. So just got to deal with it. You know what I mean? We'll see what else, man. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about these tiers. You know, so when I was playing this tier tournament, or these tiers in DraftKings, I thought about a carnival game. You know, that's what all DraftKings is, man. Is just a digital carnival game, or it's an online carnival game. Like, you remember the carnivals? For those of y'all that went to carnivals and shit, and like fairs back in the day, they always had those little dumbass games. Remember the game with the bucket that was like against the wall? I don't know what they call that shit, but it's like a bucket, and they have it on an angle, and it's like it's tilted, and they give you like a softball, and you got to try to toss a softball to make it stay inside the bucket. And it's like an illusion, right? Like you think that, oh shit, if I toss this ball at the bottom part of the bucket, it's gonna stay in there, and it's like, nah, it's set up to make you think that. So like you gotta throw it like in another way. It's kind of like that in DraftKings, right? Like you look at all these players and you're like, oh shit, I know who I can pick. I know exactly who won't. But it's not about, like, all these players can go off, right? It's just a matter of figuring out who goes off the most and who can you get to go off when you least expect it, you know? So like I said before, I tried all sorts of, you know, different, like, you know, data, like data mining techniques, you know. Like I said before, like I used to look for patterns, you know. I would look for, you know, I used to look for like number pairs, right? So, for example, let's say that a player, let's say that a player's up right now that I'm looking at, and let's say that his previous game he put up like 30 fantasy points, and then the game before that one he put up like 15 fantasy points, right? So what I would do is I would go through and take that pair and then look to see, like, what number came after that pair, and if I see like a 50 or like a high number, I'm like, oh shit, okay, because you gotta think these players aren't thinking about what they did the previous game or 5, 10 games ago. They're just playing in the moment. So my theory was everything they're doing is like muscle memory. You know what I'm saying? Everything they're doing is muscle memory. So it's like I be looking for like the patterns. Like I look for the dips. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at the pairs of those numbers, and I go through to look to see like what number follows that pair. Sometimes you would see like 50 twice, and I'm like, oh shit, that's something I gotta get on that. Now granted, the player might put up like 40 after that, but it does. Long story short, that doesn't really work. But you would think it would work because it's like you're doing it per player. So every player is like has their own little profile. I kind of did it there, but every player kind of has their little profile, where you kind of say, hey, look, when this player does this, watch out, But it doesn't always work that way because you have to take into account certain things like, sometimes they be on that load management bullshit. You gotta look at the score of the game. If they blowing somebody out, they might rest that player, or the golden bum on the bench might come out and have a good game because he got way more garbage time from the blowout. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how the game rolls. That's how the cookie crumbles, as they said back in the day. That was a funny saying. That's how the cookie crumbles. Let's see what else we got, man. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into the next segment of the show, which is SIMPology, where we talk this simp shit. You know what I mean? But what are we gonna talk about this week? It's gonna be a short segment. You know what I'm saying? Because for the fourth week in a row, or I think fourth week in a row, but fuck it, for this week there have been no relapses. Like I had no relapses, man, none. And when I say relapses, I mean that means that like I wasn't duped into trying to do something to try to raise the value of a chick or to raise the interest of a chick. You know what I mean? So but I came close though. Like I said before, man, we in this quarantine or whatever, and like this whole quarantine is making me reconsider hitting up my exes. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this whole quarantine is making me think like I should hit up some of my exes and just be like, hey, what's up, girl, man? Hey, man, remember like 2 years ago when we broke up? Man, girl, I was tripping. That was me. Hey, but I came close though, man. I was just hitting up on, like, I was gonna hit up my exes on some hey big head type shit, but I was like, nah, let me just go ahead and look at some of this porn and just get that out the way. You know what I mean? Because last thing I want to do is be gassing up some chick's head, man. But nah, I thought about hitting a few exes. I thought about hitting up a few of them, man. And I was talking to my boy, and he was like, man, just do that shit. And I'm like, nah, man, because it's always like, there's always like a footprint, or there's like, it's weird, man. Like, I've dealt with situations where I've rekindled shit with exes in the past. When I say rekindled, I don't mean, we got back in a relationship, but, we got back and we like fumbled around a little bit and shit, you know what I mean? Ruffled up some furniture, you know what I mean? But it's weird because like at first it's like, oh shit, I forgot all about this. Like, man, it's like the good at first seems like, man, this is great. But then you see the old like patterns that turned you off from the chick in the process, or that made y'all not really be compatible, And that part sucked. It's like, oh, I'm going down this road again. Shit, I don't want to go down this road again. Damn, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's either something, man. It's um like it's either a habit they had or it's a just a feeling you get from something that they did, and it's like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this shit again, right? It's like I want to experience new problems. I don't want to experience this old shit I already went through. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not worth it. So, and I remember one time, like for example, right? I remember one chick or a few chicks, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a few chicks I dealt with in the past, like when like things weren't working out and I had to end shit, they just got like real clingy. You know what I mean? They would just get real clingy, and the more you tried to be like, nah, this is it, you know, they would just get emotional, and I don't like dealing with that shit, man. You know, so um yeah, so that's when I learned. I was like, yeah, like even though you've been in a drought, or whenever you're in a drought, it's always easy to hit up. Man, that wasn't that. That was my throat. Just I had something in my throat, like my shit was getting tired, it's getting dry. But nah, it's always like when I had a chick, I forgot what I was saying. Shit, something about oh yeah. So when I had chicks I was dealing with in the past or whatever, it's always like when it comes up, um, or whenever that thing that they did comes up, um, it would always like throw me off, man. Or it would always I'm bullshitting. I forgot what the fuck I said. So let me go ahead and move on. Like I said before, I don't like I said. There's nothing I have to report on in the SIMPology department. You know, um, yeah, I have nothing to report on. Um, like I said before, no relapses. Um, but the urge was there to hit up like one or two chicks. Like the urge was there. You know. Um, Now, if one of them hit me up, it's different because I can play the game different. You know what I mean? Like you don't want like I guess it's about like, you know, power or like here's the thing, right? I don't want to have control over anybody, but I don't want anyone to have control over me. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if I hit up an ex first, um, just to see what's good or whatever, I feel like if I were to do that, they would then have power over me because now they can dictate, you know, now they can like dictate the terms. You know what I mean? Um, and yeah, that's not what I'm. Yeah, no, I don't want that. Right? Like that would suck because now, cause for example, like about I think a few months ago, like my one ex hit me up on some hey big head type shit, and then it caught me off guard, so I started to like validate her, and I was trying to like, you know, I was trying to go link up and shit, and um yeah, that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like she basically was like toying with me the whole time. You know, like she would act interested and she would like pull back. Yeah, she was doing that pullback method technique shit, and I didn't like that shit. So I got over that, and then there was an urge for me to hit her back. I'm like, nah, I'm not hitting her back. No, um, because when I feel like if an ex were to hit me up, I feel like that, you know, um, I could kind of like play the game different, you know, and then um, like, you know, if I got the opportunity to, you know, smash again or whatever, I could smash, but then it's like, you know, I could then be like, well, look, you hit me up. You know what I'm saying? So this is what it's gonna be. If you don't like this, then you shouldn't hit me up, right? But when you hit a chick up, you know, it's like you're like, I feel like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like when you hit up an ex, it's kind of like they can always play that card, like, you know, that you're trying to like manipulate them, you know, when really it's like, nah, you just want to see what's good with one aspect of the relationship that y'all had in the past. And you, like I said, I have nothing to report on the simping shit, you know. Um, like I said, I'm proud of myself. No relapses. Um, yeah, I'm not doing a whole lot of Zoom dating, which like I don't do that Zoom date shit, man. I ain't fucking with that. Um, but yeah, so let me go ahead and move on to the next and final portion of the show. I think this portion of the show, I'm glad I'm kind of cutting. I'm glad I cut the SIMPology section short because this next portion of the show is probably gonna take up a little bit of time. So what do I have coming up this week? Not a goddamn thing. I don't have anything coming up this week, man. Actually, I'll take that back. I do. My bad. I'm being disrespectful. With some of my comedy friends, we're doing let me look at my calendar. Yeah, we're doing a Dungeons and Dragons episode on YouTube this Sunday, or we're gonna record it. I'm not sure when he's gonna post it, but we're gonna record a Dungeons. I can't even say this shit. We're gonna record a Dungeons and Dragons session this Sunday. Not just me. It's gonna be like me and like 4 other people or whatever. So when the link comes out, I'll make sure I put it in this video. If you guys want to see some nerds play D&D. Like I don't even know how to play Dungeons and Dragons, to be honest with you. But I'm just there to, it's a comedic venture. You know what I mean? But anywho, what else, man? So in addition to doing what's coming up in my life or whatever, or what events I got coming up, I'm gonna add on this other piece right now, or I'm gonna merge it. Basically, it's a kind of a hybrid, but basically, I want to talk about my comedy trials and tribulations, because I was kind of in a weird funk yesterday, and if y'all don't know, I'm a comedian. I tell jokes and shit, but I've had more failures and tough times than successes, and I feel like a lot of my failures, like it's weird, like when they were happening, it's like I hated the process, but when I look back on it, it's like I grew from it, like I learned something from it, you know what I mean? And some of this shit is funny, now that I look back at it, but I wanted to kind of like share some of like the light on, the not so bright side of comedy, right? Like I wanted to give people the aspect of, and this isn't no violin session. This is just, hey, this is just, if you get into this business, man, there's a lot of shit you gotta think about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this shit, like the shit you see in the lights is pretty, you know what I'm saying? But the shit behind the scenes and behind the dark, it's a lot of shit, right? It's like, for example, like when you like make chicken, right? Like, for example, a lot of y'all see, so think of like, think of like KFC rotisserie chicken, right? When you go to like KFC or whatever, or like Popeyes, and they got the chicken in the little case or whatever and shit, and it's on that little spinning thing. I don't know what you can call that shit, but the little spinny thing in the heat, that chicken look good, don't it? That chicken look, man, that chicken look good than the motherfucker. But to get that chicken to where it's at, there was a lot of shit that chicken had to go through. You know what I'm saying? So basically that chicken had to be field dressed. You know what I'm saying? If you know anything about field dressing, that means you have to like gut it and do all this shit and get the organs out and everything, and then take the skin and the meat and then process the meat before you cook it, right? So that's kind of like, how it is with me, right? Like, for example, there's a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes, that's like the field dressing kind of shit, right? But then all that went into like when you see like one little bright spot from me, there's like a lot of shit that went on to get that one little bright spot, So anyways, I'm gonna start like a little chronological journey through like my little comedy career. I gotta stop saying little. Through my comedy career, I'm gonna start taking a sequential approach and kind of like rehashing shit. So, excuse me. So before I start that, I want to kind of like I kind of want to preface, with how I even got into comedy, right? Like, it's my belief at the end of the day that oh shit, forgot about that. There we go. Yeah, I got about 10 minutes and I gotta wrap this shit up. I got about 15. I'll be good. Yeah. Let me make sure this fucking phone is off. Okay, there we go. But so the reason why I do comedy, man, is yeah, I like doing it, but I feel like, comedy chose me, you know, for whatever reason, right? Like for whatever, I'm not saying like I'm the best, or I'm not saying that, I'm this or that. I'm just saying that certain events in my life happened that certain events happened in my life that that showed me that this is what I should be doing. You know what I'm saying? So, as y'all know, I grew up with a speech impediment. My shit was bad, you know. So the fact I'm even doing this is like, crazy to me. But one thing I know I liked to do when I was younger, like I used to love to laugh, man. I still love laughing, man. Like I'm addicted to laughing. Like it's like to me, laughing is my high. I'm always looking for something to laugh at, respectively. Like I don't want to like be laughing at like shit that people can't. It's weird. Like I said, I just love laughter. Like laughter is like my high, and I found out about this high when my mom made me watch Eyes on the Prize during Black History Month. And I used to watch Eye on the Prize and I would get mad, 'cause I'm looking at how, the white supremacists, treated black people back in the 60s and shit. And that shit was, man, it just rubs you the wrong way, man. But then my mom would then follow it up with putting on some Richard Pryor, because my mom's probably like one of the biggest Richard Pryor fans, man. She has all his albums on vinyl and she has them on CD, right? So she would like follow up an Eye on the Prize documentary with a Richard Pryor album. And he'd be talking about the same shit. And I got to see, oh shit, you can laugh at fucking misery. You know what I'm saying? So that to me was like, powerful. Like that shit to me was that was dope, you know what I'm saying? But it was like I was laughing like hard at Rich, and then, as I got older or whatever, or like a little older, so that's where like I discovered like that I like to like laugh a lot and shit, and who doesn't like to laugh? That's not a reason why comedy chose me or whatever. But then I forgot I was pretty young, but Martin Lawrence's "You So Crazy" came out. And to me, that's like one of my favorite specials, because that special like taught me that, hey, look, you can talk, nigga. You know what I'm saying? So I could recite that whole special from start to finish. 'Cause I watched that special so much as a kid, man, and I remember like I could recite that shit forward and backwards, and that's when I found out that like, that like talking and speech was about a rhythm, and it was a cadence to the shit, so when I went to camp, I went to this little Christian camp every summer. And when I was at this Christian camp, we had like two sides of the cabin, right? There was like a side A, side B, and our counselor like stayed like in the middle lobby part of the cabin. And I would keep my side of the cabin up all night doing Martin Lawrence's You So Crazy special. I would keep them up just laughing all night. I would just be repeating that shit, and then one night our counselor got tired of us making all this noise and laughing. Like at 2:00 in the morning, he came in and was like, "Hey, what the fuck is so funny?" And this one dude was like, "Yo, man, Dre's doing that Martin Lawrence You So Crazy special, man. It's motherfucking hilarious, So he called me out in front. So he called out both sides of the cabin into the lobby or whatever. And he was like, "Look, Dre, you got 15 minutes, man. Get started. Start reciting this special. If you don't make me laugh, all y'all motherfuckers gonna be out here running at 2:00 in the morning." So I did the special, or like I recited it, and we didn't have to run, So that was a good feeling, knowing that, oh shit, like I can talk and make people laugh, but still, that wasn't my own thought. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't like my shit. You know, because we know in the comedy world that you can't take other people's shit. That's called hacking. You know, so that's when I was young. But then, moving along as I got older, I went to college. I was still like, I still had my speech impediment shit. I was still like very self conscious of that. You know, I was very nervous. And I was like I was a loner in college, you know, but I had like my moments where I kind of broke out my shell like temporarily, and then I had a mentor that was maybe like 4 or 5 years old, about 4 years older than me, and he saw something in me. I don't know how he saw it, but he was like, "Yo, you funny," but everyone kept telling me, don't listen to him. He's trying to just take advantage of you. He's trying to like play you or whatever. And really he was trying to just get me to see that, look, like I'm a funny dude, So I remember I was at he was like, yo, you want to go to this comedy show on campus? I was like, yeah. And it was this thing by like Comedy Central or whatever. It wasn't like on TV or nothing like that. It was just like they just wanted to like see who the funniest person on campus was. And I'm going there to watch the show. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking I'm just gonna go there to go watch the show. And then we're sitting there and we're waiting for the show to get started. And my boy was like, he's like, yo, Dre, you want to get up? I was like, nigga, the fuck, I can't even talk. What the fuck am I gonna get up here and hell no, I ain't getting up there. He's like, yo, Dre, man, you funny, man. He's like, look, man, he's like, look, if you do it, I'll do it. And I was like, all right, fuck, let's try this shit out. So I had a few minutes. So I went back to my dorm and I just wrote down some bullets of what was on my heart at the time. And what was on my heart at the time was I wasn't getting no pussy in college. You know what I'm saying? So I talked about that shit for like 5 minutes straight. And when I got on stage and talked about that shit, man, it just felt great, man. Like I don't want to hype myself up, but it was like I was killing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I was being 100% honest. Like that's when I popped my comedy cherry, like quote unquote. You know what I mean? And it was a good feeling because like all the chicks that weren't giving me no pussy were like in the audience and they was rolling. So I was making them laugh. You know what I'm saying? I still didn't get no ass from them after the show, but I mean, I was making them laugh. Like I was talking about how, like, I forgot what I gotta try. It's weird, man, but I know like what I was talking about. I was talking about like how they're making bad decisions and picking dudes. Like they're trying to go after dudes on the football team who probably ain't gonna make it to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Because like, our school was so bad at football back then. And then it was weird. I was talking about how like you got all these chicks taking stat 101 and stat 201, and yet they picking the wrong motherfuckers to go after and shit. So that was kind of like that's not the joke. That was just the premise of the shit. Like that's how I was hitting the shit, And I was talking about how all the little chicks are for me, or how all the shorter chicks are for me. I was like, y'all gotta stay away from the short. Like I was just going in, man. And it's possible that I had Joker's ear, but here's why I say I didn't have Joker's ear, right? And if you don't know what Joker's ear is when you think you killing, but you not. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why I think I didn't have Joker's ear during that set was because I got hit up through by the campus board or whatever, right? To audition to open up for the bigger comedy shows on campus. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what kind of lets me know, like, hey, look, maybe you weren't, maybe like I probably killed, but you didn't kill as hard as you think you did, but you killed enough for them to be like, hey, you want to audition for this college joint. So I auditioned. I didn't know what it took. I ate shit during the audition, and that was that. But this is where we're going to start the trials and tribulations, right? Like, so when I was on stage ripping for like, that was for when I was on stage ripping for those 5 minutes, on my own material, the first time I ever got on stage, right? I had this thought. It was weird, man. Like my mind was, it was weird, man. Like I never had that, like I want that feeling again. Like when I was on stage doing that set, it was like, it was like I didn't memorize the words, but I knew like the jokes. I could see like little, I could see where I was going, right? It was weird. Like I was talking about one thing and they were laughing. And while I'm halfway through talking through that thing, I'm like, oh, if they like this, I can't wait till I get to that, you know? And then I got to that and I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and take this and move this around and talk about that. And it was just like weird, you know? It seemed like time just like slowed down, right? Like, you know how, they talk about quarterbacks in the NFL? Like when they said quarterbacks get good when the game slows down for them, you know? And so when I first started, the shit was like in slow motion almost. Not slow motion, but it was slow. But then as I tried to take it serious, in the future, the shit got all kinds of like twisted up and got fast, right? But anyways, while I was on stage, like kind of piecing out different things I was gonna do next during the set, I had this thought like, man, this is fun. I'm like, man, this is fun. Like, shit. But I was thinking to myself, man, if my folks ever found out that I'm pursuing comedy instead of these books, they gonna put their foot in my ass. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, damn, you know, like how can I like, you know, how can I take this to the next level? Like, what can I do next? Man. I'm like, yo, what can I do next? Like, you know, like I had that voice and that voice basically started to like grow in me or whatever. And it was like, yo, just Dre is right. Like whenever I was frustrated, there was a voice in me that said, nigga, just, yo, get a notebook, write this shit down. Write. Get down and just write. And I could never like draw myself to like sit down to actually write, you know, in my notebook because all I could think about was, man, I got homework, I got engineering classes, I got all this shit I got to do, I got to graduate, and I got to get out of here. And my folks, like I said, my folks wouldn't want to hear me doing no comedy shit, like, you know what I'm saying? So I really struggled with that, you know, like it's weird, man, because I don't like to live life with regrets. Like maybe that just wasn't my time, but one thing I wish I could do is go back to my dorm and like be in those moments where I was like really frustrated about shit, and I could just like put on my Beanie Siegel, The Reason, and just pound out my shit, man. Just pound out these words, man. You know, that's one thing I wish I could really do. But there was a voice that was like, yo, Dre, man, like, yo, what's next? Like, what's next? And I'm like, I kept fighting that voice. It was like, nah, man, I'm not. Like, I didn't hear the voice. It's more like I felt the voice, right? Like, I don't want y'all to think I'm crazy and shit. But there was an inner voice that was like, yo, Dre, man, nigga, you funny, man. You got to follow up with this shit, man. Like, what you going? I'm like, man, shut up, nigga. Nah, I got to get back to these books. I got to get back to these books, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't be fucking around with this shit. I got to graduate, man. Shit, I'm on student loans right now. I can't be up here fucking with jokes and I got student loans, but I got to pay this shit off. You know what I mean? So that was like the first like struggle or like trial that I had in this road of comedy, man. You know, was like, hey, we're just getting on the path, you know? Like I wanted to put my foot down and step on the path, but I was split, right? You know what I'm saying? I was struggling. So, but that was the first one. But then for next week's, all right? So for next week's comedy trial and tribulation, I'm just gonna basically kind of like I'm gonna throw a word out there. So when I listen to this, I can know, okay, yeah, I gotta follow up with this. So the next trial and tribulation in sequential order was the bookstore, right? Hey man, look man, y'all been a lot of fun. I gotta wrap up this episode. But before I wrap this joint up, make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? Jam up the comment section. I said comment section. Jam up the comment section. Do all that fun stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's been fun rocking with y'all, man. Thank y'all for listening to the 4th installment of Trippin with Theobold. Yeah, you can find me all forms of social media at AT is where it's at. But without further ado, Like, I'm gonna say something else. But until next time, see, I don't know how to end this shit. But until next time, man, I'm out of here. Peace.